Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Encompass Hair Loss Marketing webinar. We are so honored to be talking with all of you today. Encompass Agency handles the marketing for hair loss studios all across the country. So we have more substantial data on marketing in this industry than anyone, and we love being able to use that and share that data to help you. Today, Elizabeth Suarez, our hair loss marketing specialist, is going to walk you through some of the data and share the steps that you can be taking with your marketing as your state reopens. You know, I feel the hair loss industry has been hit harder than almost anybody. Not to diminish the challenges that the travel and tourism business has been going through, but they don't have a lot of customers right now. The restaurant business has had it tough, but most of them have been able to stay open, and the customers can decide whether or not to frequent them. The hair loss industry and hair salons across the country have customers begging for our help, but in many cases, we haven't been able to give it to them. So the stories I'm hearing from you out there are heartbreaking, they're challenging, and they're even frustrating at times. It's one of the reasons I'm so grateful to be working in this industry and with all of you, because we can help make strategic decisions that allow us to come out stronger on the other side of all of this. And that's what today's about. So with that as the goal, Elizabeth, take it away.
Awesome. Well, yeah, as Jerry was mentioning, I know there's been a lot of talk between all of us on how we can make sure that we come out of this on the other side stronger than we were when we came in. So the first thing we really wanted to cover today is understanding the advertising trends that we've been seeing up until now so that we can make intelligent decisions moving forward. So we're going to look at some ad spend and media usage throughout the past couple of months. We're going to also look at search volume trends so that you can see where the industry is headed. And then a really cool thing that we were able to do is look at some studios who stopped their advertising versus studios who continued to advertise throughout this whole crisis. So first and foremost, I want to talk to you guys about something called Crisis Marketing Advantage. And this is basically what's going on right now in the world. According to Nielsen, there's been a 40% reduction in ad spend and a 60% growth in media usage, creating this almost bubble that you're seeing on your screen. Basically, what this means is that right now there's a larger audience to reach than ever before with significantly less ad clutter. Because what happened when everything started going on with COVID, people stopped advertising, but there were so many people at home not doing anything and consuming media like never before. So what this created was right here, this opportunity for a lot of people who kept advertising to increase their market share during this time. So this little bubble right here that you see, kind of that teal color, this is the optimal re-engagement timeline. And we'll get into that as I talk about the different steps to do to kind of kickstart your advertising. But that's where you really want to take advantage of what's going on right now and start advertising as there's way less clutter in the ad space. And then looking at search volumes, and you can see this goes all the way back to April 28th, 2019, all the way to where we're at now. And you can see that from February to March of this year, we saw a significant decrease due to COVID-19. That's true to a lot of different industries. If you think about what was happening during that time, the searches really became about understanding what was going on. The news was very cluttered with COVID-19. Are we opening? Are we closing? So there was a lot of different things happening during that time. So we saw that kind of dip happen in the industry. But on April 25th, we saw things kind of kick back up to the same kind of time period they were at in 2019. And it's very, very encouraging to see that things are starting to pick back up. I know we always say that the hair restoration industry leads the way in the economy, and I think it's coming right back, and that's a true indication right here. So as these searches continue to increase, what you really have to start asking yourself is, are you present where people are at? And have you had this presence throughout this whole time? So because we have so much data and we work with more hair studios than anybody in the country, we really wanted to take a look into what the effects have happened to studios who kind of paused their advertising during this times and to studios who never did. So we looked at 3 studios that did pause their advertising and 3 studios that did not. They're very comparable in market size and the budget. And what we did was compare these 3 that shut down versus the 3 that didn't, and what happened when we looked at their goal completions. So for Studio One as an example, they paused their advertising and saw a 37% decrease in goal completions. What they did was they paused their pay-per-click and their YouTube campaigns. Studio 2 saw a 28% decrease in goal completions, and they actually paused their pay-per-click and their retargeting campaign. And then lastly, Studio 3 saw a 50% decrease in goal completions, and all they did was pause their pay-per-click campaign. And that's what's happening to a lot of different studios who kind of cut back their advertising or stopped advertising, is that they saw that dip in leads. It's not that they didn't get any leads, but they did see a huge decrease year over year. Turning the page and kind of comparing that to studios who never stopped advertising during this time, we see that Studio 1 saw a 23% increase in goal completions, and they kept their pay-per-click and YouTube campaigns active. Studio 2 saw a 6% increase in goal completions while maintaining their pay-per-click campaign, and Studio 3 saw 138% increase in goal completions just from their pay-per-click. And this studio had obviously a much more encompassing strategy where they had pay-per-click, social media, retargeting, and an email campaign. But when we're looking at people who continue to advertise, we're seeing a lot of positivity coming from it, and we're hearing that feedback that leads are still coming in. I know it's hard to work those leads as you used to before, but that's really where the innovative part has to come in to see how you're going to work those leads when they can't come into your studio. But again, it's to emphasize everybody's has still been getting leads organically. So I don't want anyone to get discouraged if you did pause your advertising. It's really about making sure that we're kickstarting your advertising again. And that's really what the second part is going to be all about, is getting everybody back on track to where they were before this. And we know it's very stressful times. So we really wanted to simplify your advertising and kind of give you guys a 6-step guide to make sure that you're back on track to reopen. So the first step, you definitely have to make sure, especially with how many different things are happening, states and cities are differing, the laws. So make sure you understand when you can reopen your studio specifically and your state as well. This is going to be key to really set the stage for steps 2 through 6, because without this, we really can't move forward with anything else. So confirm your open date, and then immediately make sure you're updating your website to announce when you're going to be open. Like I mentioned, there still have been a good amount of leads coming into every one of our hair studios websites. So making sure that when somebody comes onto your website, they understand when you're going to be open is huge. So really understanding the new details regarding your reopening. If you had a pop-up or a blog on your site, this is a great place to use that and let them know when you're going to open. And if you don't, great start to put those on your website to let people know, hey, here's when we're going to open back up. And you also want to know if you have new rules that are going to apply when people are coming up. Your blogs on your site is a good place to do that. Another thing that a lot of people have talked to me about is Google kind of went in during this time and marked a lot of hair studios as closed. They did it based on industry and based on location. So it's super important once you know that you're going to reopen to go into your Google business listing and reflect that you're now open. So Google automatically said a lot of businesses closed. So you want to make sure that your Google listing reflects that you're open, so that when customers are searching for you and you show up, they know that you're open and ready for business. Step 4 is all about making sure that you're communicating not just to your current clients, but to all these leads that you've gotten during this time. So you want to make sure that you send out an email to your current clients and leads and basically tell them your open date and what rules are going to continue to apply during this time. So will they have to still wear a mask when they come in? Are you guys only doing appointments? So all these rules are super important to communicate to them. And again, in a very positive light, and telling them you're still taking care of them during this time. So things are going to be a little bit different. Is there no more waiting rooms? So things like that, you really want to communicate via an email and let them know, kind of linking back to your website when you're going to be open and what the new rules are. And we can definitely help if you guys don't have a system that can send emails out. Next, in step 5, this I would say is the most critical part of this whole process, is making sure that you turn your pay-per-click back on. So for the people that did pause their pay-per-click campaign or kind of change the pacing, now is the time to make sure that you have put your campaign back on track at least 2 weeks before your open date. Obviously, the more time you give it, the more you're going to take advantage of that chart I showed you and that bubble. But at least 2 weeks before is really optimal to make sure that you're staying ahead of everyone else who's going to turn their advertising back on the minute their business is open. So again, 2 weeks before your open date, in the minimum, we should turn your pay-per-click back on, especially if you've been off for a while or the budget has been lower. You want to give it time to optimize to where it was before all this. And this is a great opportunity to capture leads that are coming in and start scheduling them. Once you know an open date, then your books can get filled up pretty quickly. And then the final step that you want to make sure you're doing is turn on all other campaigns. So did you have an online video campaign that you turned off? Did you stop your social media campaign? Did you pause your retargeting campaign? Now is the time to turn all of that back on. So if you guys remember the marketing funnel that I've walked a lot of you through, it's important to be present at all stages of the funnel. So we want to make sure that we're continuing the branding campaigns, because right now your audience is in that research phase. They're more engaged than ever before. So you want to make sure that they remember who you are. So when the time comes and you are open, they're calling you, they're making appointments with you. And ultimately, every branding campaign is always going to strengthen your pay-per-click campaign, and it's going to perform that much better. So you want to make sure you have branding on so that it trickles down to your pay-per-click. You're getting the leads coming in and you're scheduling them in. And then finally, we want to make sure that you're looking ahead and staying ahead. I know it's a very uncertain time, but we want to make sure that everybody's focused on the future and what they can do to ensure that they're not falling behind. So these are some quick little tips that we want to make sure you guys are aware of. First and foremost, a lot of you have been a leader in your industry for a very long time, especially in your local area. Make sure that that continues true even in the upcoming months. And it's the simple way is just by following that 6-step guide. Some of you are already by step 4 or 5, which is great. So everybody's at a different path, but just ensuring that you're taking care of those 6 steps when you're ready. Again, I'm going to mention that 40% reduction in ad spend and 60% increase in media usage, because that means less ad clutter. It's very few times that we can honestly say an industry as a whole has a lot of opportunity to take advantage of your competition and increase your market share. Now's the time to do it. So making sure that you're taking advantage of that bubble at the right time is huge. And then finally, making sure that you're giving yourself at least 2 weeks before you reopen to take advantage of everything that we talked about. A lot of times people are going to wait till they open their studio and then they're going to want to do all this. And by that time, it's going to be too late to really get that bang for your buck. So staying ahead is key during this time and making sure that you're a leader in your industry. Another thing that a lot of our hair studios have been doing is during these virtual consultations. And I encourage everybody who's already done it to continue doing it. So just because your state opens up doesn't mean that all of your clients are going to want to come in for a consultation right away. Everybody's going to be at their own journey through this whole process. So making sure that you can accommodate everybody, because it's going to make them feel that much more comfortable with you as a company and a brand, that you can accommodate to their needs and have a virtual consultation with them. So as always, I encourage all of you guys to schedule a call with me to talk strategy, start implementing these 6 steps that are really going to make sure that you stay ahead during this time and continue to be a leader in your industry. Though I'm going to take some questions if you guys have submitted anything. If you haven't, there's a Q&A section that you can submit a question and I can answer it. So I see one here that says, is now a good time to add a campaign I've never ran before? That's a good question. Absolutely. And I know all studios have been at a different path and some have been more effective than others. But if you feel like you have that extra budget because you haven't shut down and you want to add another strategy, now's the best time to do it, because I'll go back to this diagram right here. It reflects that opportunity in this part. So as things kind of open back up, things are going to plateau and it's going to be back to normal. So if you can get a few months where you're getting a bigger bang for your buck than you would in December, I strongly suggest that everybody take advantage of that if you have the opportunity to. Okay, so I think those are all the questions that we have. Obviously, if you guys have any more questions, feel free to email me, call me. Let's get on a call and let's discuss all your plans that you have for your own studio, and we can tailor these specifically for you and make sure that you're staying ahead. So thank you guys so much for taking the time today, and we will see you guys soon.